Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Jum'ah Mubarak to everyone watching this morning. It's a wonderful day. It's the birthday of Imam Muhammad with al-Jawad.
I do love wiladas, and especially seeing friends and family celebrating these occasions. It feels lovely, and it's important for us to remember these dates. It was Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam that said, surely for every act of worship there is another superior to it, and that is a love for us, Ahlul Bayt.
Amazing, absolutely amazing, completely agree. It's important that we commemorate these occasions, not just for us, but most importantly, the future generations who we learn, or who actually learn from us for as an example. Here to help us commemorate this wonderful time of year, we have Sayyid Jalal in the studio with our very important Holy Quran recitation with ayahs from Surah Al-Insan.
MashaAllah, looking forward to that. Straight after that, we have Brother Ibrahim Ansari on the couch with daily du'as, and today will include a beautiful recitation and explanations about Ziyarat Ashura, and I'm really looking forward to that.
We also have psychotherapist sister Baraka dropping by to discuss a vital topic which affects a lot of teenagers and even adults in our community, and that is eating disorders.
SubhanAllah, something that we should have a better understanding, and hopefully we can prevent it from happening to our loved ones. Today we also have your health questions and queries answered by Dr. Yasser Madani, and today we will discuss the importance of healthy lungs, smoking versus your health.
A very important issue. We also have your fiqh questions and queries answered by our very own Sayyid Ali al-Nawab regarding husbands and their duties. Interesting stuff. So, for competition details, we are going directly to Mustafa al-Khatib. For more details, stay tuned.
The holy city of Karbala is home to tragedies, heartbreak, as well as treasures and wonders. Millions from around the world come to this sacred city with their prayers and tears. As well as being home to Imam Hussein Media Group, it's the home and resting place of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his brother Abu Fadl Abbas alayhum as-salam. Imam Hussein sacrificed his life for the sake of truth and preservation of the religion and teachings of his grandfather Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Imam Baraka says, order our Shia to visit the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, since doing so increases sustenance, extends life, removes evil, and that visiting the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a duty upon every believer who believes in Imamate from Allah Almighty. So we invite you to come to Karbala and come to visit your Imam and perform Ziyarat. Unfortunately, not everyone can come visit Imam Hussein. Not everyone has the ability or opportunity to visit regularly, and that's why Morning Baraka is giving you the opportunity to perform ziyarah from your very homes. We want you to send in your du'as and names of your loved ones so we can recite the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam on their behalf. Maybe you have a loved one whose name you want to put forward, a marhum who would benefit, or maybe you miss Karbala and yearn to see Imam Hussein, peace and blessings be upon him. Why not send a small message or a dua for us to read here in the holy city of Karbala? Whoever's name you put, whatever dua or small message you have, the Morning Baraka team will pass it on to our team here in Karbala, and we will recite the ziyarah, read the message, and broadcast it on Imam Hussein TV3. Send in your names, du'as, and small messages to Morning Baraka at @imamhussein.tv, or messages, or leave a comment on any of our social media platforms. We look forward to hearing from you, and may Allah and the Ahlul Bayt accept all of our a'mal and our ziyarah, inshallah.
Welcome back. We're going to start the day with our usual daily Quran. We have the ever so amazing reciter Sayyid Jalal Masumi joining us. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, we are well, thank you. And you're reciting Surah Al-Insan verses 5 to 12. So please take it away.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا يوفون بالنذر يوفون بالنذر يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Yes, many thanks for your time, Sayyid Jalal. An amazing recitation once again. Inshallah, we look forward to hearing more from you in the coming episodes. Now we're at the part of the show where me and Zara speak to our esteemed guest, Ibrahim Al-Ansari, where we kind of shed light on some of the supplications, the du'as, the ziyaras within the school of the Ahlul Bayt that perhaps you didn't know much about. And also to, even for those that you do know about, we give some points that perhaps gives you some thought-provoking ideas as to those du'as or the supplications or the ziyaras. So as I mentioned, Ibrahim is joining us today. Assalamu alaikum, Ibrahim.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah, all good.
I wanted to ask this time before you. I want to ask how you were doing.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I'm doing well. Zara, you okay?
You guys are getting the blessings of saying salam first, which is kind of annoying me right now.
Okay,
you're getting the 69 hasanat and I'm only getting
May
one.
Allah give them to you.
So okay, in the next episodes that you're in, I'll just say we're here with Ibrahim Ansari.
I'll say salam
and then
alaikum.
you can say salam alaikum.
Yeah, then we can share the hasanat.
All right, cool. Brilliant.
Perfect.
Brilliant. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm doing well.
Yes, I'm well, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So just for the benefit of the viewers, we are of course celebrating the birth of Ali al-Asghar, the son or the young infant son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Tragically, we know of his life in the story of Karbala and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. However, we're going to be focusing more on some of the positive aspects of Ziyarat Ashura in today's episode.
Inshallah, definitely.
So tell us, in terms of the ziyarah, there are obviously a lot of ziyaras tailored towards the sons or the children of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Yeah.
And it being the birth of Ali al-Asghar, how does it work within our plethora of ziyaras? How does it work when it comes to ziyarah for the sons of Imam Hussein?
So usually with ziyaras for the sons of Imam Hussein, for the sons of Imams, they always tend to be assured ziyarah in their name or whatever. Whereas with Ali al-Asghar, with the rest of the sons of Imam Hussein, with those who were martyred alongside Imam Hussein, in fact, this Ziyarat Ashura, it includes everyone. So it's a beautiful way of sending your salams. It's a beautiful way in remembering them through Ziyarat Ashura. And in fact, for Ali al-Asghar, for example, there isn't really a specific ziyarah that mentions Ali al-Asghar. Not one that I have come across. And as we know, he is buried on the chest of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. So I find it a beautiful way to do ziyarah for both of them. While you're at it, as they say. Because this great infant, yes, he was only 6 months old on the day of Ashura. However, he did have a great stance. He did cause a throne to shake. He did cause his name to be remembered till the day that we are here today.
So you mentioned quite an interesting point in terms of the sons of Imams and the sons of Imam Hussein. Is there a difference in terms of, like, because I know there was a ziyarah for, actually, is there a ziyarah for the sons of imams?
So, for
specific
example, you've
ziyaras, not al-Asghar, but is there a specific ziyarah for the sons?
So you've got ziyaras for some of the sons of imams, especially some of the sons of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. Forgive me, I can't remember the exact names. Some of the sons of Imam Sadiq. There are specific ziyaras. However, these ziyaras, you don't usually tend to find them in our main books. They tend to be here and there in weaker books. But once again, they have this thing about them where even though you can recite them, they don't really have any negative impacts anyway. So there isn't really something. Because usually, Assalamu alayk, whatever his name is, wa ala ajdadik, wa ala abaik, and there's no harm to it.
Actually, Zara, when we go to Karbala, and we go and visit the different maqams outside the shrines, there is a special maqam for al-Asghar, right?
Yeah.
Is there, I probably haven't
where
noticed.
the cot is, yeah?
Where the cot is there a specific, like a plaque where it says a certain ziyarah? Do you remember?
No, I can't
Or for
remember.
example, al-Akbar has a special maqam as well.
He does, but I think he has a ziyarah,
Yeah,
hasn't he?
al-Akbar has a specific ziyarah.
Al-Akbar has a specific
Yeah.
ziyarah, okay.
But I don't. You're right. I've never recalled one for.
Not one that I've come across.
No.
Interesting.
But it's quite emotional, isn't it, when you go, well, when you're in Karbala, and, you know, you do the tours and to see where the actual, physical battle took place, and I think this maqam is particularly, and I guess a lot of parents or people who wish to have children go there make a lot of hajat and.
That's why I was always wondering if, because usually with every, like even Abbas alayhi salam's right arm and and left arm, there is a special kind of ziyarah that is tailor-made, not generic as you mentioned. So for example, there's other generic ziyarahs like assalam to you and your grandfathers, but no, this is like tailor-made ziyarahs, like even mentions your right arm and bless your right arm and for what you stood up for. So I'm very keen to know, maybe, you know, if one of the viewers can email in to let us know that actually when it comes to the maqam of al-Asghar, is there a special ziyarah? That could be something interesting to find out.
Lovely to know, definitely.
But moving on, I guess you mentioned that there's a special ziyarah for the sons of Imam as-Sadiq, for example, and Imam.
Yeah, usually in the maqamat you'll find, for example, some sort of short ziyarah.
Oh, but they're the generic ones.
They're generic ones.
Right, okay.
They'll mention the name, and then the rest is everything the same.
So I was going to say the difference between the rest of the imams and their sons, for example, the generics. Is there a difference between that and the one for for al-Akbar alayhi salam?
Yes, because
so al-Akbar was a specific one to him.
Why? Because Ali al-Akbar, when you look at his ziyarah, first of all, the Ma'soom is showing his great status. He is showing how he took the great stance of standing beside his father. Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-mazloom wa ibn al-mazloom. Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-shaheed wa ibn al-shaheed. And the word shaheed, yes, it is called, yes, it translates to martyr. But the status of a shaheed in Islam is not little. To the extent where Imam Sahib al-Zaman, when he comes, when he reappears, inshallah, may Allah hasten his reappearance. Those who had taqwa, those who had amazing piety, those who had amazing iman, and died a normal death, in some narrations we have that the Imam will take them out of their graves, al-Raj'ah, take them out of their graves, and they will fight beside the Imam, and they will attain shahada to lift their status even higher.
Wow.
So this is the status of a shaheed. And in the Ziyarah of al-Akbar it mentions that he has gained that status of a shaheed.
So in terms of a ziyarah for al-Asghar, there is nothing specific. However, he mentioned within Ziyarat Ashura there could be something that alludes to him.
So Ziyarat Ashura, it mentions all of the Ashab of Imam Hussein. It mentions the sons of Imam Hussein. So for example, in one part of Ziyarat Ashura, it says, Assalamu alayka, Assalamu ala al-Hussein, wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein, wa ala awlad al-Hussein, wa ala ashab al-Hussein.
Yeah, so in terms of the ziyarah itself, you mentioned that there's nothing specific for al-Asghar. However, you know, Assalamu ala al-Hussein, wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein. I'm pretty sure that the scholars differ when it comes to which Ali ibn al-Hussein. Because then after that it says awlad al-Hussein. So I'm assuming that awlad could be obviously feminine and masculine. So we're talking about the children of Hussein. So maybe Sakina or Ruqayya and so on and so forth. Maybe Ali al-Asghar is part of that awlad. But in terms of the Ali ibn al-Hussein, are we referring to Imam al-Sajjad or are we referring to Ali al-Akbar?
Well, you said there's a differences of opinion, although that the mashhur, let's say the most famous opinion, would go to Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam. But of course, at the end of the day, with awlad al-Hussein, they're all mentioned. So even whoever the Ali ibn al-Hussein is at the start is also mentioned in awlad al-Hussein. Other scholars say no. To show the greater status of Ali al-Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein, he was mentioned separately. As Ali ibn al-Hussein. So this is where the difference lies. And usually I don't like to get into these kind of discussions. So some say no, because Ali ibn al-Hussein, Imam al-Sajjad, is an imam, he was mentioned alone, and the rest were martyred in Karbala, they were mentioned as awlad al-Hussein. Whereas others say, and both arguments make sense to be honest with you, whereas the others say Ali al-Akbar, to show his greater status, because he had the greater status from the sons of Imam Hussein on the day of Karbala. Of those who were martyred. Of course, Imam Sajjad's status is higher, with no doubt. However, to show his great status, he was mentioned there. So he was mentioned twice, in Ali ibn al-Hussein and in awlad al-Hussein,
so
to show his great
status. Could the context be that when that part of the Ziyarat is mentioned, Assalamu al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein wa ala awlad al-Hussein wa ala ashab al-Hussein, could the context of that be shahada? So those who were martyred in Karbala were mentioned or are specifically mentioned in these 4 lines? Or is it whoever took part in Karbala?
It's the ra'i, the opinion, goes to whoever was involved within this. Because when we look at context, we want to look at what is before and what is after. And none of it does it mention those who were martyred.
Okay.
So if it mentions those who were martyred, then yes, of course, we can say only those who attain shahada. But in most, at least just so that I make sure that I'm not giving a false information, at least 99% of the places where it is mentioned, it doesn't mention those who were martyred. And then Assalamu ala al-Hussein.
Okay, that makes sense.
What if someone's reciting that and is, like myself, and they're not literate with Arabic, and they think, okay, Ali ibn al-Hussein, they think it's this little Ali, or they think it's the middle Ali, or they think it's Imam Sajjad. How would they know? So is it just, like we say, most of us have grown up thinking it's Imam Sajjad, but I mean, actually, to be honest, it's the first time I've heard that anybody thought it was Ali al-Akbar. So it's interesting to perspective. I'm just wondering, because Ali's, it's like they named all their sons Ali, didn't they? And all the daughters. If I had 1,000 sons, I would call them all Ali. So, shall we listen to the recitation?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're focusing on the last part of the Ziyarat Ashura.
I feel like the last part, other than the fact that it includes a sujood, and that is the closest position you can get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, other than that, it also includes many lessons, and it mentions all of those who we just mentioned as well. So I feel like as if it is a concise lesson and a concise prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the closest position you can get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Fair enough.
So in it he says, اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Of course, this specific part, this specific ziyarah is narrated from our Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, where he starts off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala li'azimi raziyati, for the great tragedy that has befell upon him. And of course the tragedy that has befell upon us as well. And we must praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a lesson. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every state that you are in. Alhamdulillah ala azimi, Allahumma laka alhamdu hamda shakirina laka ala musabihim. The praise of those who always thank you. even in heaven, for example, we have different groups, stages, whatever you may call it. Al-Shakirin, al-Musallin, these are all different statuses that people can reach to. One of them is those who are shakirin, thankful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a status. And the Imam is teaching us to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank you the way that the shakirin do. So of the highest level of thankfulness, we want to thank you of this great tragedy that has befallen upon us.
SubhanAllah.
Makes sense.
It's amazing. I'm just thinking about somebody I know who's going through a very difficult time at the moment. Their child is missing. And someone said, well, why does this happen to good people? And you think, subhanAllah, you know, to actually in the depth of your tribulations, to turn around and say, I must thank Allah. Not must because it's incumbent or it's, you know, not only because it's, but only because it's it's really a blessing to be able to open your eyes and heart to think that how God has blessed you with that trial, because through that trial, your faith will grow and so much patience. There's so much to go through, isn't there?
Other than the fact that in the afterlife you will be gained reward for this. So for example, we have a narration from Imam al-Hadi alayhi salatu wassalam. He says that this world was created a world of bala, and the next world was created a world of thawab, and the thawab of the next world was created for the bala of this world, and the bala of this world was created for the thawab of the next world. So therefore, if we don't have bala in this world, it's as if you don't go through specific tribulations, we can't just be thinking, oh yeah, Allah is going to allow me to get into heaven, etc. It is this patience, it is thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is following the footsteps of Sayyidah Zainab when she said, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. This is piety towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I saw nothing but beauty. I saw this is piety towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is always thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing you to be in the position you are in.
And you know what, you mentioned something in terms of, you know, why does this happen to good people? I think if we relate it back to our school of thought, we can never ever ask that question, because if this, you know, if we use the term good people, and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are the best of the best, so if they are good people and tribulations such as this happens to them, then who are we to complain for any minor, major tribulation that happens to us? I mean, if it, you know, we can't ask the question of why does this happen to good people when the good people are the Ahlul Bayt, how comes it happens to them on a regular basis? But they can never ever.
They had the highest amount of tragedies. Otherwise, Fatima Zahra, when she stands by the grave of her father, and she says, "Oh Father, calamities have befallen upon me. If these calamities were to fall upon days, they would have turned into nights." And calamities isn't just a normal tribulation. The word calamity is death or what is close to death. Because once we have a normal tribulation, I failed an exam. Once a normal thing happens, I lose a friend and it affects me heavily. Anything can happen. Whereas a calamity is death or what is close to death. And she said this before she died. Meaning how great were the tragedies that Fatima Zahra went through. And she was the best of people.
It's a deception of this world, isn't it? That, you know, it should be easy, but it's not. So I think that's a beautiful point to end on. I think we have come to the end. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We pray for your blessing for today.
Likewise to you and your families, inshallah.
Thank you so much. So your recap?
Yeah, no. I don't think there's much time to do the recap.
Do a quick one.
But from what you were saying in terms of the ziyarah for the sons of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there is a specific ziyarah for Ali al-Akbar. However, when it comes to the ziyarah compared to the rest of the imams, they are kind of just generic, you know, peace be upon so-and-so, the grandfather of so, or the grandson of so-and-so. So it's just very, very generic. You can insert any name here and it'll still apply. And I think what was interesting is the discussion around the Ziyarat Ashura itself, and the particular area that you focused on, and you know, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any calamity or tribulation or trial. It even says it here, like, you know, to you belong the praise of those who are thankful to you for their tribulations. All praise belongs to Allah for my intense grief I think that's something that we should also consider for the viewers as well. By the way, just a quick word to the viewers. If you have any information in regards to the within Ziyarat Ashura, we discussed at length in terms of Assalamu al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein wa ala awlad al-Hussein wa ala ashab al-Hussein. If you guys have any information, any knowledge, any text, any...
Well, what you feel like, you know, how you've been reciting it. You can email us.
What came to mind?
Yeah, what comes to your mind. Drop a comment on the social media page or email us into Morning Baraka. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah. In any case, Zara is going to be with Baraka Hussein after the break on the special segments. So don't go anywhere unless you are getting a cup of
tea.
Yeah.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Hope you enjoyed that segment with Brother Ibrahim Al-Ansari discussing Ziyarat Ashura. It's a ziyarah that is very dear to my heart, and I'm sure many of you as well. Now we are going to be speaking with our expert, Sister Baraka Hussein, who's coming from Canada, and she's a psychotherapist. And on social media, you can find her as the Muslim Counselor. So join me in welcoming Sister Baraka Hussein. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, yourself?
Good, I'm fine. Are you up for our discussion about our relationship with food, eating?
Of course, let's do it.
It's excellent. So again, we have people, myself included, you know, comes to a Friday night, you think, oh, I just need to eat, you know, something unhealthy. It's like you've been sort of good in the week. A lot of people refer to food as good and bad, and I kind of look at it as, you know, healthy eating, and then you can give yourself a bit of a break and not to be too extreme. And I hope that's pretty normal. I don't know about the relationship of food, but that's why you're here to explain. When are things sort of a step too far in our relationship to food? How should we be looking at our intake of food, and really how does it affect our mental health and well-being generally? So.
Again, you asked such big questions, sister, but very important ones. The relationship with food and mental health is huge, significant. What we put in our body is, with that saying that we hear often, you are what you eat. Yeah. So what you put in your body does have an impact on how you feel, your energy, and I find with a lot of clients that come in who are dealing with the typical depression, anxiety, and areas around that, stress, it's because they're not, a part of it is the lack of healthy lifestyle with the food, of course. So when you're eating healthy food, you balance, it's all about that balance. Healthy food intake, exercise, good sleep, good spirituality, good social networks, you're taking care of your mental health well and your overall well-being.
And it will show, won't it?
Absolutely. If one of these things are off, then you know, it's hard to deal with challenges that come your way. So with food, we want to make sure that it's balanced. You got your protein, your complex carbohydrates, you got your fruits and your vegetables, and a variety of other nutrients in there. I'm not an expert in terms of, you know, a dietitian, but this is my experience as a therapist with students over the years, where I actually sit and make meal plans with them, and I work with a dietitian where I will send students to them to get specific details on how to deal with that, including people who are dealing with disordered eating. Right. So when you are constantly eating junk food, high sugar intake food, caffeine, you better believe that your anxiety is shooting through the roof.
Wow.
And it could impact your glucose levels, your sugar levels, which can also give you that high and that low, which is why you feel so energetic sometimes and sad or low afterwards, right? So we really focus on, you know, making sure to have your breakfast. Why is it called breakfast? You're breaking your fast after fasting all night, right? So we've got a variety of healthy foods here, which I'm very happy to see. You know, having a banana
Did you see the
smoothie.
donuts outside?
We're not touching those donuts.
Fruit people.
So, so having, you know, healthy, like bananas are great snacks. Apples are great snacks. I always encourage my clients, especially because they're students, right? Who's got time to make a fresh meal every day? So we prepare a meal plan. Working professionals, parents. This is a time management skill, financial tool as well to help you. So let's take a quick look at that, and then we can get into, you know, this is healthy eating and what does disordered eating looks like. So healthy eating, hopefully. And I notice here in London, people don't do that.
We're not great, no.
No, you're great with donuts and sandwiches and coffee and smoking. So breaking your fast, which could include a sandwich, can include a smoothie, oatmeal, or you call it porridge here, right? So things like that are great in the morning because it's complex, carbohydrates, which last longer and because they take longer to digest, so you feel fuller longer, right? Not as hungry. White enriched flours and breads, they go right through you.
No nutrients.
No, they go in, right through you. So you want things that are high complex, right? So
in terms of fruit, someone told me that there's a hadith, and I don't know which one it is or you know any reference to it, but eating fruit is better in the morning because it gives you it's better for your well-being rather than eating later in the day. And I don't know if that's true, but would you say that just carrying fruit with you and having it as a mid snack between meals?
Absolutely, and that's what you want to do is you prepare your snacks. That's why when we do that meal planning, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, light snacks. Because if you can follow that flow throughout the day, and I find it's easier when you're at work because you can prep the stuff over the weekend the night before and then you bring it with you. Whereas if you don't prepare, then you're running off to work with no breakfast, you grab a coffee or a donut, you're hungry, so you're going to grab that donut. Possibly that donut over that banana because that looks more attractive to your hunger, right? Your taste buds and your eyes. So what happens here is your sugar is off and you're just craving more sugar perhaps throughout the day, and it just throws you off.
Your energy levels, is
right. So when you have that breakfast, you know, mid-morning, you are hungry. Your metabolism is working, which is what you want it to be doing. So you have a fruit. A banana is a great mid-morning snack. That's my usual. I have like almost a set routine now because I'm used to it. Lunch is whatever I've had the night before, right? So the easiest way to plan about this is prepare dinner and lunch. What am I going to have for dinner and lunch for the whole week? Then the hardest part, it's done. You can use a slow cooker, you can cook things and freeze them, and that way you're not tempted to go buy that sandwich or that burger or those fries.
Because the thing with those, I mean, even when I look at the sandwiches that we have in, you know, ready retail shops now, when you look at the ingredients and you think it's just a sandwich with cheese or prawns, whatever it is, and the calorific value of it is extremely high.
Because they use dressings and empty calorie things.
So it's just not.
No, and you know, you could replace it with hummus or avocado, and it doesn't take a lot of time to prepare over the weekend. You're saving so much money and time when you do this over the weekend or the day off throughout the week, right? So lunch, you've eaten your lunch. What do you crave after? You've had something savory, obviously sweet. I recommend people to eat dark chocolate, dates, which have a lot of spiritual and Islamic benefits that we know. And why do we break our fast with a date? There's so much sugar, fiber, and like glucose rather, that gives you that energy, right? I like putting almonds or walnuts inside of them. And I recommend for students, you know, eating lots of walnuts because they look like little brains.
Yeah, they do.
They give you the concentration and focus. Almonds have been known to help with focus and attention as well. And believe it or not, cashews, subhanAllah, have anti-depression qualities in them. And a handful of cashews a day have been effective, just like antidepressant medications.
Do you advise your patients to have these kind of, you know,
absolutely, especially when we know they're dealing with depression or anxiety. I will go through a meal plan with them in terms of giving ideas. I give them resources. I connect them with a dietitian to get into even more detail because again, not my area of specific expertise, but I have experience now with helping students with that. Why do I know it works? Because when they come back and talk to me about, so I changed my diet, I've been walking a lot more, I've been working on my sleep, I've been writing in my journal, I've been doing a lot more spiritual things, reconnecting with friends, but it's the food I find when they come back and tell me, I feel a lot better because I've been eating better.
That's so good.
Amazing, because when you have the proper food intake and you develop a healthy relationship with food and cut out the negative food, you feel the impact of it in your body.
So we're talking about people that have, you know, adults, and it was a couple of days ago, I was talking to, you know, my co-host Ali, and we were talking about children, and he was saying that, you know, for instance, you know, perhaps young children have bad habits of easily eating chips. You know, they're provided fries, as you call them in North America.
Crisps,
and he's
yes.
and he's struggling. You know, for instance, children struggle with eating healthily. And is there a sort of a time age that you think, you know, you want your children to develop in a healthy way? So is it too early to start, or is it never too early to start?
It's never too early. And I'll give you my personal example. My daughter wasn't allowed to touch sugar. She still doesn't, by the way.
Wow,
yes.
very good.
She grew up eating blueberries, blackberries, avocado, bananas, honey as the only sweetener. So by the time she reached her first birthday, and I put that cupcake in front of her, she took one look at it, poked it, put it aside, and asked for blueberries. Such a proud mama moment, you know?
Absolutely.
Until now. So what we do, for example, when she goes to centers and they throw out sweets and give out sweets, she comes back to me healthy. I'm like, no, it's not. And she's like, she will, you know, should I not? I said, well, you know, it's not healthy. What would you like to do instead? So what we have done is we have health food stores that sell sweets, as you call them, candies, that are made from fruits, that are made from organic cane sugar, for example, rather than highly processed corn syrup and fructose and glucose, which is just terrible, and the chemicals that are used, which, by the way, have been linked to attention deficit disorder, to children, and that hyperactivity. So there's a lot of that. The sugar drinks, all of these things have a huge impact on a child's development.
Aren't they, for
and
parents?
cheap, and cheap. That's the thing. They're accessible. Parents need to read and understand what are in the ingredients. I say this, and it may be a little bit dramatic when I say it, but you're feeding your kids poison.
No, you're right.
And I tell that to people. I say, do you want me to give my child poison with that lollipop? I will give her the fruit lollipop that I will pay a little bit extra for, but she has that at home, and I'll have it in my bag, and I'll tell her to take these snacks with her.
But you're very prepared, aren't you? And I think that's a very good
well, this is what we need to be as parents, right? And for our own healthy eating. So you're saying too early, never too early. Teach them early, because they will develop the taste buds for the healthy food, which is why till now my daughter does not have the taste to have sweets and whatnot, because she knows what healthy sweets taste like. And she will prefer her fruits.
It's nice to hear that example, because I've heard on social media, you know, there was I think a couple of years ago, a story about a 2-year-old that had never tasted sugar, and then when you go into the article, the child actually did want sugar and was eating sugar after 2, because that was
they got used to it.
They got used to it. So again, it's nice
how
to
we
hear
train.
a positive.
It's how we train ourselves and our child, and it's what you offer. She has a cupboard, for example. We have a cupboard full of healthy snacks. So every day after school, when she empties her lunch bag, again, routine, which is what kids need, right? Pick the healthy snacks you want for tomorrow and make sure there's a fruit and a vegetable. And she's old enough now, for example, to pick. So when you engage your children in picking and packing their lunches, you know, it becomes an activity at home, bonding for the family, but then you're developing a healthy relationship and understanding of food. They get used to developing these habits early on. Now, when we talk about disordered eating, right? These kids growing up could be dealing with depression, could be dealing with abuse in the home, could be dealing with what was the word I was looking for? Bullying as well, right? So being made fun of in terms of the way that they look. So this can develop potentially, I'm not saying it's the actual link, it could potentially harm their relationship with food if they have low self-esteem and negative body image issues. They start taking control of what they put in their body. And so we get into the clinical terms here of these mental health disorders of anorexia and bulimia. So anorexia is when they start calorie intake control of how much they put into their body. And they become very thin because they're losing a lot of weight. But in their minds, it's never thin enough.
Wow.
right? And so it becomes a disorder when they're not eating healthy and they lose a lot of weight,
So
they're losing hair.
Are they seeing somebody else in them in their reflection? They're not seeing, perhaps because you see images of, you know, young people.
Social media models and whatnot. Yeah, so that's a part of it as well. It's like, I want to look like that. That's what they perceive as beauty. Don't forget the huge impact of social media on our youth and even the elders in terms of how they should be looking out there, how they present themselves, what is beauty, what is attractive.
The expectation is on women as well, isn't it? That, you know, I want a size 8 model, and, you know, and it puts pressure on women, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that's a part of it as well. So you've got the anorexic end of the spectrum, and the other is the disordered overeating, and then vomiting, you know. So this is a different type of control where you're overeating, you're binge eating, and eating everything in sight.
Beyond comfort eating. That's
beyond comfort eating. It's okay to do comfort eating. You can have that pizza and wings, you know, once in a while. It's about moderation. You have that healthy food all week, you know, Friday night relax, that's fine. It's in moderation, and you know you're hitting the gym next week, so it's fine. It's when it becomes a loss of control. And I heard my clients describe to me that, you know, I ate everything that I could find my hands on. And it felt good at first, but then I feel disgusting and I want it out of me. So then they resort to that behavior.
And what does that do on a physical level? The vomiting, the, you know, excessive vomiting, frequent vomiting.
Well, the acid can damage the inside of our body, the esophagus, the teeth. Of course, there's a lot there. A lot of damage can occur there, but it's also the psychological damage here, right?
So we've got a couple of minutes in terms of treatment, how you help clients. What's out there for? Are these treatable, these conditions?
Absolutely, they can be, and it's a specialized area. So we have specialists in the area where we would refer clients to institutions, to programs. There's a bit of a wait list sometimes. I know this in Canada, I'm not too sure here, but you can again access the Muslim Youth Helpline as a start, and they can direct you to resources in your area here. There is treatment. So please don't lose hope there. Sometimes it's hard for you to admit that you are dealing with this issue because this is your way of managing your stress. There are much healthier ways of dealing with that. And sometimes you could be a recovered person dealing with these issues, but because another stressor comes into your life, and I've seen that with people,
relapse.
They will relapse. And so it's great when they come to get the support. They said, I want to make sure that I have the support in place so I don't get to that dark place again. Because it's not a happy place to be in.
So it sounds like it's the catalyst for these kind of emotional, which then the symptoms are showing, you know, they go towards eating disorders. And next up, we are actually going to be discussing smoking habits with Dr. Yasser Madani. And again, that's a stress reliever, isn't it, for a lot of people? But is this a similar thing with food, that people, it's a sort of maybe a stress factor that's, you know, it's got a catalyst to this condition developing?
Absolutely, yeah. Like we were saying with stress, there's so many different ways that people exhibit it, right? And so when you're dealing with the disordered eating, body image issues, self-confidence, and all the other things, bullying, abuse, and whatnot, they're all interconnected. And it's the stress that could trigger the response to that.
It's so unfortunate, isn't it? Because I think with children, especially when they go through schools and, you know, the parents do everything right, but what happens in their life is their own environment. And, you know, we can teach them as much as we know and can, but again, those elements of support and understanding. And again, we haven't even touched on people recognizing this. And again, as a specialist, you probably would, if you saw somebody quite underweight. With us, you know, we have this whole, could be underweight, overweight, oh, it's okay.
Or they're just naturally thin, right? Exactly. And it comes down to the interesting conversation of, and I've had this with my 8-year-old when she was younger. One day, she's very slim body type. And I think this is a conversation we all need to have with our young family members and friends. This conversation in particular, where she out of the blue said, I'm fat.
Oh, bless.
As a 6-year-old. I was quite shocked to hear that. I'm like, Mama, what do you mean by that? Oh, I don't want to get fat. I don't want to gain weight. So this is modeled in front of her. I don't know where, because we embody healthy eating habits in my home. And so we had the discussion where I explained to her, and explained again recently to her, fat is a positive thing. Fat is a good thing. Fat keeps our bones together, keeps you alive. There's nothing wrong with fat. It's when you eat unhealthy and excessively that you gain weight, that it becomes unhealthy. So there's a difference between fat. Fat is a good thing. We need it. But it's the unhealthy habits, the unhealthy eating that is the issue here. So we need to have that conversation and understanding around that, because people are afraid of gaining fat and weight. You need that fat to stay alive.
And it's shocking, it's a 6-year-old, because I mean, I've heard, and obviously, you know, from your experience, you can share that, but I don't know how many people are out there, parents are actually prepared that, you know, a passing comment with a child is something for you to, you know, trigger you thinking, hang on, where did that come from? And it needs to be dealt with and nipped in the bud
immediately, because we want to develop that healthy relationship with food and understanding that food is great for you. Healthy food, that is, and balance and moderation.
Thank you so much. Well, to any parents out there, any individuals, you can get more information. As you mentioned, it was the Muslim Youth Helpline. Okay.
We'll double check.
Yeah. Or Sister Baraka is on social media. I'm sure she's got a wealth of knowledge, and not to inundate her, but it's really
I will refer you to the appropriate specialist.
But it's really good to have that sort of, you know, sometimes, you know, you hear parents talking, and they're very valid points. So thank you so much.
Bless you.
I really enjoyed that session, and inshallah we'll see you another morning.
Inshallah.
And viewers, as I mentioned, we have Ali and I are going to be speaking to Dr. Yasser Madani and smoking. It'll be an interesting topic. Do join us.
Yes, welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV, specifically on the morning Baraka show. We have had some fantastic discussions so far, and we're going to be continuing our fantastic discussions around health and wellness, specifically around the lung and the functions of the lung and the diseases associated with the lung, or the lungs, as we know now. But today we're going to be discussing quite a controversial topic, which is smoking, be it the cigarettes or the e-cigarettes, or as we know it to be called the shisha, or in the American kind of countries is known as hookah, for our American viewers.
Is it?
Yeah, it's known as hookah in America. Don't ask me why I know. I've been to America, so I've
clearly we know what you've been up to in America. No, because actually in our countries it's called hookah as well. My nan used to do it.
Yeah. So we're going to be discussing the social aspect of that, as well as the kind of scientific aspect of that, and of course with our kind of resident experts, Dr. Sayyid Yasser Madani. Thank you so much for once again being on the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How's it all going?
Alhamdulillah.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. So Ali,
inspiring
questions.
It's quite a topic that I'm really quite passionate about, because you know, growing up with the youth, speaking to the youth, it's something that it's a very attractive place to be, or an attractive thing to do, peer pressure or whatever it is. It's kind of like the norm now when it comes to cigarettes or shisha. But we'd love to discuss about the differences between cigarettes, it being a habit, for example, or shisha, it being like a once a week kind of social gathering kind of thing. I guess
I think we should. I was going to say that we, for those of us, of you actually, that haven't joined us before, Dr. Madani is a specialist, a respiratory specialist. So that's why he's giving us his expertise on this topic. Sorry, you were saying?
I was going to say, in terms of the difference between cigarettes and shisha, do you want to first start on kind of cigarettes, the effect that it has maybe on the lungs, and then comparing that to shisha? I know that you have some interesting facts you wanted to share.
Sure, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin, wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. So we know more about cigarettes in terms of, you know, the Western world. It's been studied more, it's been researched more. Shisha has come over from the East, and it's now quite commonplace in the West. Even in America, as Ali mentioned, everywhere it's, you know, there's shisha cafes. But it's less well studied than cigarette smoke. We know that shisha contains tobacco tobacco is harmful. Cigarettes, in fact, contain thousands of chemicals. Some say over 5,000 chemicals, and a lot of them are very harmful.
Each cigarette?
Yeah, the cigarette, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of social aspects attached to each of those.
Yeah.
Cigarette, it's an individual habit that people do for various reasons, and it becomes a habit and becomes a way for people to relax or what have you. But unfortunately, the more they use it, the more addictive they become to it, because it's actually a substance, it's a form of substance misuse or addiction, because it contains nicotine, which is the addictive substance within it. Shisha is slightly more social rather than individual. I mean, people still do shisha on their own, you know, but often they do it more socially, you know, when they get together as a group of friends or colleagues or what have you. So there's a slightly more social element attached to shisha, which was probably the case for cigarette smoking many years ago as well. When I have patients and I ask them, look, how much do you smoke? They say, oh, actually, I was just a social smoker, actually, back in the day, you know, 20, 30 years ago. I only smoked, I didn't smoke as a daily habit, which is not the case for most people that smoke. Most people that smoke daily, actually, that I see anyway.
Could I ask you just here, so those people you see that are from 20, 30 years ago, and say from that period they stopped, would the lungs continue to be damaged, or does over time the lungs repair and then become as a non-smoker?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, actually. So actually, it takes years for the lungs to become damaged.
Right.
The lungs don't become damaged straight away.
All right.
I mean, some damage develops, but it's probably not clinically significant damage to the extent that it causes symptoms or disease. Yeah, so there's probably subclinical damage which isn't significant and doesn't manifest. But the significant damage happens years down the line, whether it's lung cancer or whether it's emphysema or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD for short, which we're not going to talk about much in this episode. In fact, we have I think a separate episode for lung cancer and a separate episode for COPD as well. So that happens years down the line. There's a lag of several decades, at least, you know, two to 3 decades or later, that the damage happens. Having said that, if the person has been a very, very heavy chain smoker for those short years, those 10 years that they have smoked, or 20 years that have smoked, and on top of that, if they have smoked other substances such as cannabis or heroin, we know those also cause emphysema. So they develop accelerated emphysema earlier than those that have smoked less, or those have only smoked tobacco and not cannabis and heroin. So classically, COPD gets diagnosed above the age of 35, 40. There are some people that can develop COPD actually slightly younger because they've smoked so much since they were, honestly, I've seen people that when I've asked them, when did you start smoking, they say when I was 11. If you go to certain countries in the Far East now, you see people on the street, kids on the street, smoking at the age of 8, 10, 12. And it's tragic, it's very sad to see, but it's actually the environment that it's about. You know, an 8-year-old doesn't know anything about cigarettes, but when they see an adult doing it, or when they see on the billboards, on the buses, or the advertisements, you know, it's also the subliminal messages going through, you know, they see it's cool to smoke, so why can't I do it? My dad does it, why can't I do it?
Do you think, so you've worked in charity in Iraq, aid work. Have you seen that sort of you know, young children smoking? Is it something that's common there, or is it something that's just more prevalent in regions geographically in the world?
You know what, that's a very good question, and honestly speaking, I don't know the answer, because whenever I go to Iraq, I go in the busiest period in the year, which is Arba'een, and I go there generally for the purpose of doing this work that I do. And so I'm not there in other times of the year to see what people do and, you know, mix with people, etc., etc. There's a lot of smoking in Iraq. I don't know if it affects the kids or the younger people as much as it does elsewhere. It probably does. I don't have statistics, I can't give you numbers. But there's a lot of smoking in Iraq, unfortunately, and it has a lot of health
And it's unfortunate, like you said, about the image of it being cool and, you know, glamorous, because that's where it started in the Western world as being something that, you know, few privileged could do. It was a social status, and over time advertisements have tried to sort of undo that damage. And it's interesting you're saying that there are places in the world still it's seen as glamorous, and it's a shame that that still exists, because it's far from it, isn't it? Probably from your perspective.
I mean, now we know much more about smoking, and it's interesting you mentioned that. There are, you know, in the early 1900s, and, you know, around the time of the First and Second World War, we didn't know much about smoking, and in fact, even doctors used to smoke because we didn't know about the effects of smoking. And in fact, there are advertisements of doctors wearing lab coats, giving their patients cigarettes
to relax.
That I've seen. So our knowledge, you know, has changed dramatically. We now have much more data. There was one of the earliest reports that was published by the Royal College of Physicians in the UK in 1962, called Smoking and Health. You can actually Google it. You can see the scanned copy of the report, and that talks about the harmful effects of smoking. So we know that, you know, for example, if you smoke tobacco, each year that you smoke tobacco, it reduces your life expectancy by 3 months. So if you smoke for 10 years, 3 months times 30 months. So that's just over 2 years, your life expectancy is reduced. If you smoke for 20, that's double. You've reduced life expectancy by over 4 years, etc., etc. So it's the tobacco and all the harmful substances within your, and cigarette smoking affects your whole body. It causes cerebrovascular disease, so strokes. It's a risk factor for strokes.
100%.
Heart attacks. Causes narrowing and damages to the blood vessels in the brain and the heart, everywhere in the body. Narrowing of blood vessels in the legs, so where people, you know, get a stenosis, narrowing of the arteries, and reduced blood flow to the legs, which means they have to have an angiogram, open up that narrowing, or, you know, put a stent in the legs, or in the, you know, whatever. So narrowing in the arteries can happen anywhere in the body, heart, brain, legs. It can cause lung diseases. It can affect the whole body. And if your health is bad otherwise, if you're obese or overweight, if you smoke, if you're unfit and you don't exercise, if you drink alcohol on top as well, all those things, if you do, drugs, substance misuse, all of those risk factors come together. If you already have pre-existing things, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high diabetes, you're a walking time bomb, essentially, for a stroke or a heart attack.
I mean, I'd love to also kind of, because this show is not about, you know, quit smoking. It's just about being informed, right? And you can make an informed decision on the substances that you take, for the viewers, right? I want to kind of focus more on the shisha kind of aspect as well, because as we know.
Do you mind if I just quickly, before we go to the shisha, to ask you from a perspective of your clinics and seeing patients? So perhaps as somebody that's a young teenager gets into smoking, not knowing that actually all these you know, risk factors are present to them, and it gets worse as they age. When you see patients in their later life and they've come with a chronic disease now because of their habits from a young age, do you think it really hits them then that, why did I smoke so much? Do they regret it, or do you think that they're oblivious?
So that's a very good question. Some people do regret it, and unfortunately by that time they've developed emphysema or COPD, and it's too late.
Too late.
Or lung cancer for that matter, or other cancers. Or they've developed other things like a stroke or heart attack, and it really hits them there. Some people, unfortunately, continue to smoke. Even though they regret having that condition, they continue to smoke. You know, either their willpower is not strong enough, or they say, well, I've got the condition.
Too late now.
It's too late now.
Willpower is a fantastic
which is
point.
actually not true. So certainly in the case of conditions that people can live with, and some lung cancers, not everyone dies from lung cancer, it's still worth stopping, because you're doing more damage. So the sooner you stop smoking, the better. Yes, you've caused damage, it's not reversible, but you're going to continue causing more damage if you continue to smoke. If you don't mind, before you go to the next question, for our viewers at home, there's a diagram, if we can put up for the viewers, which shows about 15 different types of cancer that smoking and tobacco and cigarette smoke contributes to.
Wow.
to their causation. And the biggest one is the lung cancer. That the bigger the circle is, the more contribution tobacco has. And that's from Cancer Research UK.
You know, anybody who knows people that have suffered cancer, I mean, I know young people, we often think, you know, they're immortal and, you know, these things aren't going to affect them. But I think when you see it, not only from a clinical perspective, but on a social, someone from your family have got it, you know, that's not, you know, by any means, if you can prevent it, prevent it.
It's sad. I mean, I look after people with lung cancer and many other cancers, but in particular lung cancer. And I have seen people in their 30s with lung cancer. Wow. Not all lung cancer is smoking related. About 7 in 10 are, and 3 out of 10 aren't.
If you had to pinpoint one thing, I know that obviously quit cigarettes, but if you had to kind of pinpoint one thing early in their life that they could have avoided that would lead up to lung cancer or any of those cancers, could you share something with that? Of course, quitting is quitting. Like there's no other remedy. But is there anything that the youth can consider? For example?
A lot of it is about the environment. Remember we talked about advertising and billboards and these subliminal messages. As for the youth, even adults, to be honest with you, a lot of it is about who's around them. You know, what do their friends do? Do their friends also smoke shisha or cigarettes or what have you? How much influence does that have on them? You know, we have Islamically, we know there's numerous hadith which says, you know, you need to befriend people that are good because then, you know, they will have an impact on you. Your friends have a direct impact on you. I'm not saying people that smoke shisha or cigarettes are bad people, but, you know,
it's the environment.
It's the environment that has an impact. That, you know, and if you're surrounded by adults that smoke, the adults are role models to you. You know, what messages are you going to get? Unfortunately, that's the reality. You know, and apart from the effect, we know there's a physical effect as well. We know children whose parents smoke at home are more at risk. So it's about that environment. I don't know if that answers your question. But also it's about what's going through that person's life. If they're going through some stress in their life and they reach out to something that they think will help them de-stress, whether it's cigarettes or shisha or alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, you know, whereas others reach out for the squash rackets, as I do. I play squash, or I watch my favourite and the best team, as Ali would testify, Manchester United, on TV. That's my way of de-stressing. Oh, you're not a Man United supporter either?
I'm not a football fan. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone who despises Man United.
Out of respect for you, I'm not going to go into this discussion. We'll leave it.
We have so much to talk about. We're out of time because we wanted to talk about the e-cigarettes and the shisha
as well, and the alternatives, and
it's. I'm disappointed that we haven't been able to cover those. I don't know if we can squeeze in a minute.
I think what we can do potentially is actually do another episode and do the things that we've not discussed as another episode.
Perhaps, definitely.
Thank you so much, though. Again, fascinating time just flies, and as ever, you know, God bless you for your knowledge and sharing it with everybody. I benefit.
Me too, 100%.
I'm not a smoker, but, you know, it's nice to know the facts and, you know, people around you, so it's definitely informative.
Fantastic. Any other points? No?
No.
So it's been fantastic to have you on the show. As Zara said, we're going to be joined by Sayyid Ali Nawab after the break, inshallah, so stay tuned. Thank you.
نه قوت در کمر دارم ابوالفضل علم دارم.
The hadith is sharif Ma'soom Imam al-Sajjad, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given my uncle Abbas a maqam such that on the day of judgment all the shuhada and the siddiqeen will wish they had the maqam of Abul Fadil. And the Imam did not leave an exception for anyone within the kawn. The exception that we know is Ahlul Bayt through Ahkam Aqli.
Now we've reached the last part of our program, where we're winding down with our tea. It's Friday, so we're going to very much enjoy the rest of the day by his esteemed presence, Sayyid Ali Nawab. We thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And as mentioned, I think there's been a bit of a difference between our guest Sayyid Muhsin and Sayyid Ali, because with Sayyid Ali we're talking more about family issues and parents and upbringing and everything. With Sayyid Muhsin when we're talking about fishing, if you remember. But anyway, Sayyid Ali, we're talking about different miscellaneous subjects, and today we are talking, I guess, about the duties towards spouses, so both the husband and the wife and their duties towards each other.
Yeah, and I guess every generation, perhaps when we witnessed our parents' marriages, our marriages, and now, you know, the youth are coming into this era and expectations are changing, aren't they? So, and I think there's not really, although we know as individual genders, my right is this and, you know, your right is this, I think it would be really good to sort of have a clarity of what are our rights towards one another as husband and wife.
Inshallah. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me again, and take this opportunity to congratulate yourselves and dear viewers for the auspicious occasion of the birthday of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us opportunity to be able to visit his holy shrine and to take him as a role model in our lives, because Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, he was young and he had a wife that unfortunately did not do what she was expected to do. So we can at times look at the lives of our imams in good times and in bad times, and take lessons from how they used to deal with them. And as we know, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they are the best role models you can ever find. If you look around the world from the beginning until the end, you will never be able to find a better role model than Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So when it comes to responsibilities of the husband and the wife between themselves, we tend to give the example of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima al-Zahra alayhim salam in their marriage, where Rasulullah was advising them. He stood by the door of Ali and Fatima moments before they both went inside and Rasulullah went back to his house. Rasulullah advised them both, newlywed, Ali, Fatima. He took the hands of Fatima and he took the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He placed the hand of Fatima in the hand of Ali and he said, Ya Ali, هذه وديعتي عندك. This is the amana. And what do you do with the amana?
You look after it.
You look after it. So here he was giving lessons to Fatima al-Zahra and to Ali ibn Abi Talib on how to look after each other. Because there will be good times, there will be bad times, or there will be times where things will be difficult. So you will have to just hold in there, because it will not last, it will go. As a cloud will stand, will rain, and then it will pass on. So he told Fatima al-Zahra, Ya Fatima, hada Ali. And he is the best husband to you. You will never be able to find a husband better than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Which means that, oh Fatima, be careful you don't neglect the rights of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Not only, we're not taking this example as because Ali ibn Abi Talib was one of the best individuals, or the best individual after the Holy Prophet, and he was the Imam and he was the infallible, and Fatima al-Zahra being Sayyidat Nisa al-Alamin. No, we just take an example how they actually executed their responsibilities towards themselves as husband and wife. He said to them both, look, this is a new life. Ali ibn Abi Talib's responsibilities, oh Fatima, is from this door outwards. And Fatima, this which opens another question for us, which I tend to be asked on many occasions, that, okay, does this mean that the wife has to stay indoors at all times and has no responsibilities outdoors? No. We come to discuss that, inshallah, if not in this episode, in other episodes. So he said to Ali, Ya Ali, your responsibility is from the door outwards. Does this mean the Holy Prophet is saying, oh Ali, you don't have any responsibilities indoors? No, we'll come to understand that Ali ibn Abi Talib, on many occasions, he used to help Fatima to Zahra inside the house. And oh Fatima, your responsibility, your main responsibility. You do have responsibilities outside, as she did. But oh Fatima, your responsibility, your main responsibility indoors is to take care of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the family which you are going to make together. So here, the husband has a responsibility towards his wife on the basis of Shar' and Islamic law, It's like he has to provide appropriate clothing, feeding her, a roof on top of her, basically make her live a respectable life. That she doesn't need to go and ask for other people for financial help and support. And the wife has a responsibility towards her husband to obey him, to look after him, even if he's outside the house, that she has to take care of his private life, and the secrets that are inside the house should not be exiting the door of the house. And also as a sign of well-being and respect and that mutual love between them, she should get up to the household chores, cleaning, washing, providing a nice environment for the husband to come back to.
Did you want to carry on any more duties? Yeah, so that's I guess from a generic perspective, it's a great example of the Prophet actually kind of explaining very top line the duties towards each other. I think if we bring it now closer to more live case studies or live examples that within our society, I think there's a lot of issues where the husband, for example, got married to the woman. 2-3 years later, he's kind of, I don't know, fell out of love, or he's just generally not interested in the woman anymore. Which tends to happen, right? And so what happens is that he starts to commit certain things that are outside of Islam. Maybe, I don't know, I mean, there's questions here, for example, drinking alcohol or taking substances or being with another person, for example. What's her duties? Because this is stuff that will happen on a daily basis in our society. What should the woman do? Because you said, in terms of secrets, in terms of looking after the husband, being nice to the husband, obeying, which I put a question mark next to, but listening to the husband. If he comes outside the realms of Islam, what should her duties be?
There are examples. I mean, not every family is a perfect family.
Of course.
And if there was no ups and downs in the life of the husband and the wife, it wouldn't be nice. It wouldn't be a good experience, because if life was always sweet, you will get bored of that sweetness. And if life was always salty or was bland, then again. But here, Islam comes and says, for example, if the husband was fulfilling or was bringing or executing his duties towards his wife, regardless of the example you just gave, taking substances, drinking alcohol, doing things that he shouldn't be doing outside the house. Here, as long as he is providing for the wife and respecting her, and attitude-wise and behavior-wise, he's not neglecting the rights of his wife, then here the wife has to be patient.
She has no right to annul method in the marriage, divorce.
She has no right,
because she's being sustained.
Because he's not neglecting any of her rights. Because the rights of that the wife has when she is able to ask for a divorce is the jurisprudence, the ulama and the Islamic leaders. They will come and investigate whether he is neglecting any of his rights or not. There are times when you see the husband will go through a phase of being troubled because of work, because of problems, emotional, psychological, and some tend to resort to unfortunately taking substances or alcohol or gambling, for example, or doing other things. But once they come back home, they try to take care or not allow all of those problems to enter the house. But the wife cannot help to see the condition that the husband is going through. But as long as the house or the wife is receiving all the husband's responsibilities, then she has to cope in there and support the husband. And not because, okay, my husband is drinking alcohol, but his behavior with me is good, his attitude with me at home is good, he's not physically or emotionally.
Okay, I was going to actually touch on that very subject. That say, okay, he's outside, he's taking substances, he's perhaps seeing other women, and she's at home with the children and she's feeling emotionally neglected. Okay, he may be providing a roof, a home, clothes, etc. But she's feeling that emotional neglect. And then he crosses lines of possibly some husbands are violent. What are her rights then? I mean, there's two issues there. The emotional neglect, that she may feel like, okay, he's providing, but I'm not getting anything out of this marriage? And secondly, if he does cross the lines of violence, does she have a right to divorce then?
We take examples from history.
Okay.
There were wives that had bad husbands, or they had leaders and rulers as husbands. They used to oppress people, like the wife of Pharaoh, or other individuals in the Islamic era. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when approached by these women, or when approached by husbands, trying to take comfort from the Holy Prophet in these problems, Rasulullah used to always advise them with sabr. As you said, the husband is out there enjoying himself and doing things that the female doesn't approve of, or the wife doesn't approve of. But she is there at home taking all the responsibilities seriously, taking care of the kids, feeling down emotionally. He's not, emotionally taking care of me. But again, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi wa sallam, they used to say, okay, for that period of time, be patient. Because there might be a temporary thing that it will pass away, and the family will come back. And it's the wisdom of the wife. If she is strong enough to stand in front of that tornado, let's say, or a tide, or the husband is strong enough to hold firm the family and stop it from being shattered. Because it is these times that the husband and the wife needs to show their true character and their strength.
True.
So it's for the sake of the family, for the sake of the children. And at times there might not be any children.
Yeah.
It might be only the husband and the wife. Well, if she cannot bear to see this happening, and it is the early stages of their life, she's found out things that she never knew about the husband, or he has found out things that he never knew about the wife. Then they should seek help from a wise individual from outside the family, from the outside the immediate family, like the elders in their family, their father, their grandfather, or the imam of the community, or the leader of the community. For them to intervene, to speak to the husband, listen, what you're doing is wrong, your wife is not happy, this will lead to, God forbid, for the family to be shattered. It's, as I said, jurisprudence-wise and Islamic-wise, if the husband is providing, is not neglecting his rights, then they generally tend to say that the wife, there are no grounds for the wife to come and ask for divorce.
Do you have a question? I have one, but
well, yeah, I think I have a question which is outside of this, if it's related.
My question is, there's the a hadith, I believe, that a wife's jihad is to please her husband, something like that.
Yes.
I've always wanted to.
Jihad al-mar'ati husn al-taba'ul.
So what?
And there is great thawab on that. Because, as I said, a female came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they used to come to Ahlul Bayt, because Ahlul Bayt, they were the first and the last resort for people, because they knew them. They are the doctors, they are the physicians, they are the engineers. They are the ones that carry the answers to many of the questions,
okay.
And they have the cure for all the problems and illnesses. So they used to say, my husband is that, my husband is that. He doesn't do his Islamic responsibilities, his prayers, his akhlaq at home is bad. Of course, Islam comes and say, أيما امرأة صبرت على سوء أخلاق زوجها. If there is a female that is patient upon the negative morals and the akhlaq of her husband, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect her on the day of Qiyamah, and she has powers to do shafa'ah. Or will resurrect her with Asiya and Maryam and Khadija, because she was patient, and sometimes people choose not to be patient. That's it. I cannot bear to live this life. I am better than this life. Then I want to move on. And sometimes it is best for the female to be helped to get separated and seek religious help to leave that life. Islam does not force. Islam does not come and say, okay, that's it, you're forced to live like that to the rest of your life.
Yeah, no.
This is why sometimes divorce has been advised. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إنه أبغض الحلال ولكن it's there. It's halal and Allah has left it for the last
and we're really
resort.
Blessed as a religion that is so sensible, because when you see other faiths, they don't have divorce, it's looked down upon. You know, we have such mercy in our religion. Obviously, it's not to say every couple go and get divorced. It's use it within the context, but absolutely.
There are guidelines. There is a track that you have to take or walk on until you reach that. It's a last resort. It's a last option. And it's the community members, it's the immediate family, that they have to play their role to reconcile with the husband and the wife and do their best to keep them together. If they come to a stage, if they reach a level where they see, okay, there's no way possible that they will come back together and allow this life to continue, then that's it.
It's a different topic, isn't it? This whole divorce thing. It's happening more and more, but we have to...
I think just to bring it together, as long as there's equality in terms of their rights, as you're saying.
Of course, Islam always calls for respect, calls for mutual love and equality, and does not advocate for violence, does not advocate for, forcing someone to live in a way that they don't want or they don't wish.
You know, we live this life once, but inshallah people treat each other with love and respect in their marriages, and we have healthy society. That's what it comes down to. But thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sure that...
Sorry, you didn't get to ask your question.
No, it's fine. I'm sure that this discussion has popped some questions in the minds of our viewers, which is what we want, really. So I'm pretty sure if you're watching this on TV, that's great. But if you are watching this on YouTube, by the way, because I know these episodes are put on YouTube, put your comments below. Put your comments below. Any questions below on the YouTube.
Or email us.
Or even email us any of the questions, and I'm sure our esteemed guest al-Jawad will be able to answer them. On that note,
end of the day.
Friday, Milad al-Jawad as well. So we're going to go celebrate inshallah tonight in our local centres, and I'm sure you will do yours as well. On that note, congratulations. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.